Good afternoon. Oh, you can do better than that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First and foremost, thank you very much for coming out for the kickoff to the internship presentations. A couple of housekeeping notes. Number one, no smoking. Number two, please take a moment right now to silence your cell phones. My students know that a cell phone going off in the middle of a presentation is cause for a 0. I don't want Professor Krause doing that to any of you. Well, most of you. As I mentioned, this is the kickoff in a series of internship presentations. Today you will hear 4 presentations. All 4 of these individuals did their internship with the Washington Wild Things. I'm not sure legally that was a good idea, but we'll let the courts work that out. In no particular order of importance, though in order that they are presenting, our presenters are Brett Gambetta, Benicio DeFalco, Luke Andrusik, and Dean Shazer. Please put your hands together for our first presenter.
Entertainment comes in all forms. You've heard of the book, Where the Wild Things Are. They made a movie of it, and Luke Combs sang a song about it. I don't remember when he released the album. It was a few years ago, though. But the true form of entertainment in America, it used to be called America's pastime, is baseball. And in Washington, Pennsylvania, and Washington County is where the Wild Things are. So let's get into it. As far as some experience goes, my 2 prevalent and my 2 favorite events I worked were the WPIAL Championships and the charity softball event coordinated by Cam Hayward. Coach Professor Krause was part of the WPIAL Championship, so there was a little bit of Waynesburg, Washington, PA, Washington Wild Things connections there. Relationships was one of the biggest parts of this internship. Coming into it, working with a few of the guys, 6 or 7 guys from the Waynesburg University Communication Department, being involved with them throughout the whole summer was just surreal, and it helped us ease into it as being interns, and on the professional outlook of things, helped us put our Waynesburg experience into what we know in trying to make the Wild Things a better production. As far as other experience, actual experience, and not why I was there for relationships, I operated the video board for the WPIAL Championships, working advertisements and putting those into advertisement slots. I'll talk about that later in the presentation. And like Luke said, he raised his hands first as the public address announcer. I was the replay guy for the first month and a half because Kyle Dawson, Vice President of Baseball Operations at the Wild Things, said, "Does anyone here know how to run replay?" It being a new replay system, I have some experience working replay for baseball on the Waynesburg University Sports Network. So I was the replay guy for about a month, and then camera work. We worked it all from first base, third base, high home, setting up, tearing down, the whole shebang. Game days, you arrived an hour and a half early, got there maybe 2 hours early. Like Brett said, he had to turn the switch on. Me being 45 minutes away from Moon Township, I was never truly 2 hours early. I was more closer to the hour and a half mark when we were mandated. So setting up cameras when we got there was the first thing that you had to do. If you didn't set up cameras, you weren't allowed to get a food voucher, which we then did. And we kind of finessed the system with the food vouchers. It was all ballpark food. You had pretzels, you had nachos, you could eat hot dogs, burgers, but we like to get a little bit of ice cream in there. So you weren't allowed to use the food vouchers for ice cream. Vanilla with sprinkles, here you go. And they said it was okay, and ice cream was the day. It was hot sometimes, nice summer day, good thing for baseball, eat some ice cream, and that was that. So after we eat, you get to your positions 30 minutes prior, although with it being an off-site remote production and you can't really get replays of the fans walking into the stadium for your cameras, it was really useless at times to be at the camera until game start. And then game time. Throughout the game, as previously mentioned from Brett, Benicio, and Luke, they all mentioned it, game day operation was just The camera gets the replay relays to the Jumbotron, and it's not a production, it's just in-game engagement for fans. And after that, we strike, we take down the cameras, depending on if it's a firework Friday. I would always wait to tear down the camera because they put on a phenomenal, professional fireworks show for Friday nights. And after the games, 20 minutes, have a meeting, and about a half hour after last pitch, we all got to go home. So what did I learn about professionalism? The biggest thing for me was keeping my composure, staying calm, cool, and collected, because us being broadcast majors at Waynesburg University, we like to implement ideas, and we like to sometimes speak our mind and try to implement things into the Jumbotron, into the fan engagement side of things that they might not necessarily see from Reese being the director. He's the one that we communicated with. Innovation. You have to be innovative, especially using the cameras. You're only manning a replay camera and you're following the action. So trying to implement different ways to get fan engagement, maybe between pitches or between innings, if there's not a scheduled game for like the knocker balls that Benny showed, they would have in-game events and in-between inning events. Trying to implement just shots that you could put on the Jumbotron that never really got used. That's where composure comes from, because if you go to PNC Park for a Pittsburgh Pirates baseball game, you see fans between innings, you see shots, you see, even if it's not games, they show fans and, just different shots of whatever. And being respectful, showing respect, even though if it doesn't feel given at times, you giving respect to your authoritative figure is uber important in the field, and that's only going to carry you so far. Then moving on, it's all about the fans. The fans drive sales. Without the fans, there's no money. If you see here, this is the charity softball event, my favorite event I worked in. I've never been happier. This is what Benicio was talking about, like you get to work with your idols. It's one of the coolest things that we've ever done in the field of work. Richard Sherman in the top left, why was he there? I don't know, but it was awesome. NFL legend, right? Jack Sawyer, he had an interception yesterday in the Steelers game. Ohio State legend. World famous James Harrison, and then, of course, Kendall Vertez of Dance Moms. Had to get that one in there for my sister and such, big Dance Moms fans. But this was the coolest day. And without the fans being there, as you saw in the Jack Sawyer picture, there's no sales. No sales whatsoever. And that means no operation, because where's your operation come from? It comes from the money and the fans driving the sales. So all games were for the fans. They had theme nights. They had themes within games. One of the most famous ones for Wild Things is the beer batter. So a beer batter is you pick a batter from the opposing team's lineup, and if the Wild Things pitcher strikes them out, fans get $1 beer for the rest of that inning. So you have the top half of the inning and the bottom half of the inning for that $1 beer experience. And they sang a song. It was like beer, beer, beer. And the fans loved it. They engaged. And they had $1 beer nights, $1 hot dog nights, the kids' Sundays, and firework Fridays, just to name some off the top of my head. So overall, what did I learn? Not just professionalism, but overall. The big thing I mentioned in the WPIAL championships, I said I'd get back to this, was operating the Jumbotron. So we had a group chat called, through the app, GroupMe. And Kyle Dawson said the one day, would anyone like to operate the scoreboards for the WPIAL championships? Me not actually doing this before, but just watching others operate it, I kind of had an idea of what I was doing. What I hadn't been told is that the sponsors paid a lot of money in between innings to get their names up on the video board. And when I got there, it was kind of a culture shock. I was talking to the director of the sponsorships. I was like, whoa, I didn't know all this was going on, but I figured it out, really had no hiccups. So I'll pat myself on the back for that one. I was excited that I didn't mess anything up. And with the Wild Things being an unpaid internship, that was a paid opportunity, as well as the charity softball game. So the paid opportunities in doing what you love through other cool events and not just Wild Things baseball. So like me playing in the WPIAL for football, it kind of hit close to home, and me being a Steelers fan my whole life, that was cool, and I got paid to do it. Following the advertisement itinerary, that's what they handed me for the sponsorships in between innings, and then my prior knowledge prevailed. talk about Waynesburg University and everything that it's given to me. If I had gone to the Washington Wild Things, I would have learned everything from my first time there. But me coming to Waynesburg and being involved with the sports communication department and the communication department as a whole, I pretty much had everything set in stone that I needed to know besides that itinerary. And would I do it again? Why or why not? I feel like this is the biggest key to hone in on. If I was in the same situation, yes, I had 2 internship opportunities. It was the Wild Things and it was WTOV in Steubenville. But when I took my drive out to Steubenville, it's a news station, just the town itself, it didn't fit me. And it was about a 55-minute drive compared to a 45-minute drive, and that would add up. The news station also being an unpaid internship, I picked which direction I wanted to go, news or sports. And of course, me being a sports broadcasting major, I'm going to choose sports. Knowing what I know now, what I mean by this is it was an off-site remote production. In previous years, Waynesburg students had the opportunity to direct and do the productions as well as get color announcing and play-by-play announcing opportunities. But with there being an actual intern from the Midwest, I believe he went to Missouri, Matthew, he was there every game throughout the end of the summer until the video board went kaput. And once again, that word, prior knowledge, everything that I learned at the Wild Things, or everything that they taught us, every opportunity that we were given, I had pretty much known from Waynesburg. So, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the first round of internship presentations from myself, Dean Shazer, Brett Gambita, Benicio DeFalco, and Luke Andrusic. We thank you for coming, but please come back next week as Group 2 has to present with Liv Kiger, Mia Hankins, Lee Jones, and Brandon Bennett. Now I will open it up to questions. Once again, thanks for coming. Suppose.
How were you able to balance the drive and now I understand you as long as myself and others didn't have exactly other jobs lined up, so how were you able to manage the drive and working with gas?
See, the good thing is I was working 3 jobs throughout the summer. I delivered pizzas, I worked at a bar in Bridgeville as a bar back, and so that's really where my gas money was. And if I wanted to have a good time, go out with friends, hang out with family, I was able to do that with the money that I had from the other jobs. And honestly, it was $150 a day for the WPIL championships, so $300 total because it was 3 games over 2 days. And then the charity softball event, I got paid close to $170, which that money also fluctuated. Some people got paid $85, some people got paid $100. It was weird, but I benefited from it and got lucky. Seth?
You mentioned having prior knowledge coming into the Washington Wild Things and working the replay system. What ways did you implement that into the replay system, and how did you incorporate that into baseball, the way the Washington Wild Things didn't have beforehand?
Well, the tough thing about it was they didn't know what they were doing because it was a new system, and even Kyle Dawson admitted, he was like, hey, if you have any hiccups, you can ask me and I can try to help you, but we're learning this thing together. So me being on replay, I was like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm the replay guy for a whole month, and balancing that, it was a similar system, but there were hiccups when taking different shots of cameras, and the buttons were different and the setup was different compared to the system we have here at Waynesburg. Anything else? Rachel?
Do you think you would recommend this internship to another comm student?
If you are looking for photography, if you're looking for videography, if you're looking to go into journalism or into sports info, absolutely. If you're looking to go into the announcing side of things, going in there as a video production intern, hoping to get those opportunities, I would not. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.